Good morning, everyone. This is Teacher Joanna, and I will be your teacher in mathematics. Now, before we start our lesson, let us first have this drill. Everyone, are you ready? Okay, everyone. 4 divided by 4, 8 divided by 4, 12 divided by 4, 16 divided by 4, and 20 divided by 4. Everyone, 4 divided by 4 equals 1, 8 divided by 4 equals 2, 12 divided by 4 equals 3, 16 divided by 4 equals 4, and 20 divided by 4 equals 5. Altogether, everyone, 4 divided by 4, 8 divided by 4, 12 divided by 4, 16 divided by 4, and 20 divided by 4. Okay? 4 divided by 4 equals 1, 8 divided by 4 equals 2, 12 divided by 4 equals 3, 16 divided by 4 equals 4, and 20 divided by 4 equals 5. Okay, so very good. So now I'm going to show you a sign. Okay, and then you're going to tell me what operation will we use if we see this sign. Okay, the first sign is this one. Okay, what is that sign? A plus sign. Okay, so if we see a plus sign, what are we going to do? We are going to add. The operation is addition. Okay, plus sign is for addition. Okay, and then we have, what is that? Minus sign. So if we see a minus sign, what are we going to do? We are going to subtract. Okay, so the operation that we are going to use when we see a minus sign is subtraction. So we have plus sign for addition and minus sign for subtraction. Now today, we are going to talk about addition and subtraction of decimals. Now what are we going to talk about? Addition and subtraction of decimals. Now, I'm going to tell you the steps on how to add and subtract decimal. Okay, again, what is the sign for addition? Plus sign. What is the sign for subtraction? Minus sign. So if we see a plus sign, then we are going to add. If we see a minus sign, then we are going to subtract. But we are going to add and subtract decimals today. Okay? Okay, so here are the steps in adding and subtracting decimals. First, line up the decimal. Okay, so what should we do first? We have to line up the decimal. Okay, and then the next thing we should do after we line up the decimal is that follow the rules of adding or subtracting whole numbers. Now, putting the decimal point in the same column above. Okay, so the moment you line up the decimals, that's easy already because you're just going to follow the rules of adding and subtracting whole numbers. Okay, so and then you're going to put the decimal point in the same column. Okay, put the decimal point in the same column. Now, if one number has more decimals, okay, or decimal places than the other, use zeros to give them the same number of decimal places. Okay, so again, if one number has more decimal places than another, use zeros to give them the same number of decimal places. So what are you going to use? If one number has more decimal places than the other, we are going to use zero. Okay, so That's it. First, you line up the decimal point and then follow the rules for adding and subtracting decimal. See to it that you put the decimal point in the same column. And remember, if one number has more decimal places than the other, then you are going to use zeros to give them the same number of decimal places. Do you understand? Okay, for example, we have the equation 27.3 minus 5.107. Now first, you have to line up the decimal points. Okay, so we have 27.300 and minus 5.107. Now teacher, why is it 300? It's just 27.3. Okay? So remember that the other number has more decimal points. Okay? So 5.107 has more decimal points. That's why we used 0. That's why we have 300 there. Okay? So that they will have the same decimal places. Okay? That's why we have 27.300 and 5.107. Now, follow the rules of adding or subtracting whole numbers. Okay, the moment we are done putting zeros and putting the decimals in the same column, we are going to add now or subtract. Now, what is the sign here? We have the minus sign, meaning we are going to subtract. Okay, so everyone, 27.300 minus 5.107 equals 22.193. Okay, so how did it become 22.193? Okay, so first we are going to start 0 minus 7. Can you minus 0 from can you minus 7 from 0? No. Okay, that's why we are going to borrow. So what's the next number to 0? 0. And we borrow can we borrow a number from 0? No. That's why we are going to borrow number from 3. So 3 now will be 2. Okay, and then next that 0 next to 3 is 9 and the last 0 is 10. So 10 minus 7, can we minus now 7 from 10? Yes, so 10 minus 7, the answer is 3. 9 minus 0, the answer is 9. Okay, 2 minus 1, the answer is 1. Okay, that's why we have 193. And then 7 minus 5, the answer is 2. And then bring down 2. That's why the final answer is 22.193. Okay, again, if you are going to add and subtract decimal, please, you have to line up first the decimal point. Okay, and then once you line up, you have to follow the rules of adding and subtracting whole numbers. And don't forget to put the decimal point in the same column. Now, if the other number has more decimal points than the other, then you're going to use 0 to give them the same number of decimal places. Do you understand me? Again, if it is minus sign, you're going to subtract. If it is a plus sign, you're going to add. So those are just the steps. Those are the steps in adding and subtracting decimals. Okay? So I have your question. What are the steps in adding and subtracting decimals? First, we are going to line up the decimal points. And then, we have to follow the rules of adding and subtracting whole number. Don't forget to put the decimal points in the same column. And then, once you put it already, remember that if one number has more decimal points than the other, we are going to use zeros to give them the same number of decimal places. So those are the steps in adding or subtracting decimals. Okay? So, what did you learn today? Today we have learned about how to add and subtract decimal. So, the steps in adding and subtracting decimals are, first, you have to line up the decimal points, and then once you line up, you have to follow the rules of adding and subtracting whole numbers. Okay? Put the decimal put the decimal point in the same column. Don't forget to put the decimal point in the same column. And remember, if one number has more decimal places than the other, then we are going to use zeros to give them the same number of decimal places. Okay, so if you really did understand the lesson, then let us proceed to your practice exercise wherein you are going to answer Take a Leap, letter A, page 163. And here is your evaluation. Answer Take a Leap, letter B, page 162. Okay, so don't forget to answer your practice exercise and your evaluation because I am going to check it. Okay? And here is your assignment. Answer focus, page 160. Now, don't forget to answer your assignment because I'm going to check it. Okay? So, thank you for listening. See you in the next video. Bye-bye! Okay. See you in the next video.